Hello learners, welcome again to our session. It's just a continuation of what you are doing earlier on. So we are looking at a question whereby we are supposed to prepare 3 processes account and we are done with process 1 account. Now allow us to proceed using the same concept to look at process 2 account. So that should take us to process 2 account. So talk of process 2 account. The question that you are doing, just the same question. This is the question that we are handling. So we are required to prepare process 1, 2, and 3 account. So we are done with process 2 account, or rather we are done with process 1, going to our process 2 account. So the same format will remain. So I'll have to prepare our process 2 account here. So let us have our process 2 account. So I'm having process 2 account. So talk of process 2 account. So looking at our process 2 account, the same concept will apply. So I should be having these details here. So talk of our details. So this is our details here. Talk of our units. Talk of our cost per unit. Talk of our amount here. The same case, details, units, cost per unit, and we do have our amount here. We do have our amount at that point. We do have our amount there. So looking at that case, the same concept, my good students, will apply. So process 2, I should be having our input. It is the output of process 1. So input 9,200. The value that we determined was 2.5, and I believe you saw we determined the 2.5 to give us 23,000. The concept of direct materials added, I'll be having it here. Direct materials added, DM added, that we'll be having there. Direct wages, we should be having them there. Talk of direct expenses, same concept. Direct expenses. We'll also be talking of production overheads. Production overheads. And on this credit side, I should be talking of our output, following what we had here. Following what we had in a process 2, I'm having our output. We have our normal loss, and in this case we had the abnormal loss also. So I should be having abnormal loss there. So the units for normal loss, we had calculated it to be 460 units for normal loss. We had 460, whereas output in that case for process 2, that was the beauty of us preparing our throughput. So process 2, our output, we had 8,700 units, and look at our abnormal loss. We had 40 units. Being our abnormal loss. We had 40 units here. We had 40 units. So the moment we do have that, the next concept would be upon us at least to have direct materials added. That will just be picking what you are given directly. We just be picking what you are given in our question. Direct materials for process 2. Direct materials added, you had 9,500. You can see the 9,500. So that is the value, 9,500. Talk of direct wages for process 2, we had 6,000. Direct expenses, we had 930. What about our production overheads, my good students? What about our production overheads? How will you determine our production overheads? How will we determine our production overheads? So, to determine our production overheads, the same concept will apply. To determine our production overhead, as we did with process 1 account, the same concept we are going to apply it when I'm dealing with direct overheads at this point. Because you are done with process 1 throughput, allow me to erase here. Because, or rather this one is going to assist us, but later on. But because you are done with process 1, after we've noted our value, allow me to erase this throughput for process 1. For process 1. So, determining our direct expenses, or rather direct production overheads. In this case, total production overhead, as we were given total production overhead of how much? Total production overhead was given 16,500. So I should be having my 16,500. We multiply by the wages for process 2, direct wages, I'm having 6,000 of the total 22,000 of the total 22,000. So that should give us how much of the total 22,000? That should give us how much? This is what you're talking about. 16,500, the total overheads. We get the ratio or the proportion of our direct wages for process 2 to our total overheads that we are given there. So that case I should be talking of 6,000 we divide by 22,000, we multiply by 16,500. That should give us 4,500. I believe all of us here together. So it should be having 4,500. So in this case we should be talking of 4,500. 4,500 there. So after having that case, now we want to determine our output values, normal loss value and abnormal loss value. For normal loss, that will be simple because you are given the value for normal loss. And the value for normal loss given, look at output, normal loss in process of input, I'm given. Then loss scrap value. Scrap value for process 2, I was given 0.5. So normal loss, I should be having 0.5 there. I should be having 0.5. And that is the figure that will take 0.5 here. So that should give us how much? That should give us 460. We multiply by 0.5 to give us 230. I should be having 230. I should be having 230. So that what will be our cost that we are going to have here? Our output cost. The same concept will apply. The same concept will apply because at this point I'll be looking at total process cost. Total process cost. We minus our scrap value. Scrap value. This is of course for normal loss. For normal loss, we are going to divide by our input minus normal loss. Normal loss minus normal loss. So that case should give us how much? In that case, we are going to determine a figure of how much I should be able to get total process cost. We add up to this point. 23,000, yes, plus 9,500, yes, plus 6,000, yes, plus 930, correct, plus 4,500, correct, to give us how much? 43, to give us 43,930 minus scrap value 230. We divide by what? We divide by normal loss units 460. Normal loss units 460, whereas our input 9,200. So input 9,200, we deduct our normal loss of 460. That should give us our cost per unit of how much, my good students? That should give us 43,930 minus 230. We divide by 9,200 minus 460. That should give us how much? 5. So in this case I should be talking of 5. So I'll be having 5 here. So the same concept or the same value I should be having it here, times 5 times 5. So that as at the end of the day I should be talking of how much? I should be talking of 8,700 by 5. 8,700 by 5 to give us 43,500, to give us 43,500. That should give us, of course, you are talking of 8,700 by 5 being our output, to give us 43,500, to give us 43,500, whereas the other case I should be talking of how much? I should be talking of 40 by 5 to give us 250, to give us 250, to give us 250, to give us 250, so that as at the end of the day we should be having our abnormal loss, and the other component you should also be having it at that point, which at that point how much will we be talking about? So if we get our summation, they should be self-balancing account. They should be self-balancing account. They should be a self-balancing account. So if we add all of it, I know very well you should almost arrive at the same answer. So talk of, I should be talking of 43. That is a 40 by 5. 40 by 5. Sorry, this should give us 200. This should give us 200. That should give us 200. So I'll be having our 200 here. So balancing our accounts, I should be talking of 43,500. We add 230, then we add 200 to give us a figure of 49,930. I should be having 43,930. So 43,930. What about this case? For the total there, it will just be the same as what you had calculated here, 43,930. 43,930. What about the number of units, my good students? The number of units here, the number of units that you're talking about here, I'm having 8,700, correct? We add 460, correct? We add 40 to give us 9,200 units. In the same case here, 9,200 units. Remember, we noted that this process cost account should just be self-balancing account, should just be self-balancing accounts, should just be self-balancing accounts. So after we have that, at this point you can clearly record our abnormal loss, we can record them somewhere. Abnormal loss value, abnormal loss value, we have our 200 abnormal loss value for process 1, for process 2. So in that case, we have our abnormal loss value, we have our 200, that was our 40 by 5. Then talk of the other one, I should be talking of 200 by 2.5, or rather you can just check it out later on. So after we're done with that, that should take us to process 3 account. Process 3 account. Process 3 account. So the same concept will apply for process 3. The same concept will apply. So this case, allow me to erase process 1 account. So allow me to erase this point here. I'll just be erasing our values here. Or you can just have it. Let us erase that. Get rid of all that. So having our process 3 account, this is what you are going to do. So I should be having process 3 account. So talk of our units here, talk of our cost here, talk of our amount here. So details, units, cost, amount, unit, cost, amount. So the same details, talk of our units, talk of our cost, talk of our amount here. I should be talking of our units, we should be talking of our cost, I should be talking, sorry, this is details. Details, I'm having cost, we have that is units, we have our cost, and we have our amount here. We do have our amount at that point. So after having that case, the next thing to do will be what? The next thing to do, I'll just be taking our values, meaning that the output for process 2 should be the input for process 1. The output process 3. The output in process 2 should be the input in process 3. Process 3. So raw materials, talk of our input. I'll be having now my input here, but not raw materials. I'll be talking of our input. Talk of our input here. My input, I should be talking of 8,700, which is output here, which by 5, we got a figure of 43,500. What about our output? Throughput will assist us. Throughput will assist us. So whenever we are looking at our throughput, it's going to show us that our output was 7,900. So output 7,900 units. Cost per unit, we need to determine that. We had normal loss. Normal loss units, we had 870. Correct. So the next thing to do will be what? The next thing to do, my good students, at this point, it will be upon us. It will be upon us to identify these other elements. So look at our question here. Look at our question. We just take the figures the way we were given. Direct materials added in process 3, 5,500. 5,500. Direct wages given, we had 12,000. Direct expenses given, We also given our direct expenses there. So we just take the figures the way they are. We just take the figures the way we were given. So just a moment. So just take the figures the way we were given exactly. So I should be having direct expenses given in our question. Direct expenses given in our question. We are given direct expenses of how much? 1340. That's the figure that we'll be talking about, 1340. 1340. So I should be having 1340 here. What about our production overheads? What about our production overheads? What about our production overheads? So looking at our production overheads, the concept is just the same, the one that we did for process 1 and process 2. So look at that case, 1340, production overheads. So for production overheads, you will allow me to erase this part here so that we work for that. Total production overheads, I was given 16,500. What about the wages that we charge in process 3? Wages that we charge in process 3, we had 12,000. So I should be having 12,000. 12,000 here. Divide by what? Divide by 22,000. So that should give us how much per unit, or rather for in regard to 16,500, or rather we have our 12,000. We divide by 22,000. Now times 16,500. To give us 9,000. So they should give us 9,000. That should give us 9,000. So confidently, I can come and write here our 9,000 there. So you are done with that part. You are done with that part. The next part should be on our credit side. Output 7,900. Cost per unit, we need to determine that. But the scrap value for normal loss, I believe you are given here. Scrap value for normal loss, I was given 1 shilling. So we should be talking of 1 there. 1 shilling. 870. 870. So after we do have that, therefore I can come and determine our cost per unit. We can come and determine our cost per unit for output. And to do that, this is what you are going to do. This is what you are going to do. Our total input, or rather our total process cost, will be how much? 43,500. 43,500. We add 5,500. We add 12,000. We add 1340. We add 9,000 to give us how much? 71,340. I believe by now you know how to determine that. The total process cost minus normal loss value, which in this case is 870. We divide by our input, 8,700, minus normal loss units, 870. So that should give us how much? That should give us a talk of 71,340 minus 870. We divide by 8,700 minus 870 to give us a figure of how much? 9. We should be having 9. So confidently, I can come and write here 9. And also for abnormal gain, the number of units for abnormal gain, according to our throughput, we had 70. I'm having 9 there. So what will be our value here? 7,900 by 9, that should give us 71,100. 70 by 9 should give us 630. So confidently, I can come and write our total values here. We can come and talk of our values at this point. We can come and talk of our values here. The total, sum, total, sum, total, sum. To start with, the units, I'm having 8,700 plus 70 should give us how much? 8770. What about our value here? Our value, what I'm going to do, we had already determined 71,340 up to production overheads. So what I'm going to do, I'll just take 71,340. I'm going to add 630 to give us how much? 71,970. To give us 71,970. After having that, that should give us how much? 7,900 plus 870 to give us 8770. Whereas the value I should be talking of 71,100 plus 870, that should give us how much? 71,970. 71,970. That means that our process account is now okay. Our process account is now okay. So we've prepared all the processes account, process 1, process 2, process 3, and also aspect of how to process 3 account. The next bit, the examiner wanted us to compute the abnormal loss and also abnormal gain account. So looking at abnormal loss and abnormal gain account, we can now confidently prepare that. We can now confidently prepare that. So this is what we are going to do. So we have these figures. We have the figures. So allow me to erase here so that we look at the last part of that question. We look at the last part of that question where we are told to come up with abnormal gain account and abnormal loss. So we start with abnormal gain account. So I'm going to squeeze it here. So looking at abnormal gain account, what we'll be doing, I know very well, looking at abnormal gain account, I'm going to debit our abnormal gain account, and first case first, we are going to credit our abnormal gain account with the value that we have here. Then whenever I'm going to transfer it to our P&L, I'm going to consider the component of the scrap value. Ideally, we are saying that at this point, hopefully it will fit. So talk of 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I don't want to raise the other one so that it gives us the value. So for abnormal gain account, this is what we'll be having. I'm going to have what you are given here. Talk of process. Where did you have abnormal gain? That was in process 3 and process 1. So talk of process 1 account. So talk of process 1 account. So talk of process 1 account. Abnormal gain, we are given a figure of how many units. We had determined abnormal gain to be, if you can go back to the video that we did, which in this case I'm going to see that abnormal gain, we had a figure of 200 units, which in that case it was valued at 2.5. And abnormal gain also for process 3. Process 3. For process 3, abnormal gain, we had how much abnormal gain? Already that one, the beauty part of it is that we have it here. Process 3, I'm having abnormal gain of 70 valued at 9. So that should give us how much? 200 by 2.5. 200 by 2.5, that should give us 500. Whereas the other one, we should be having 70 by 9 to have 630. So talk of our scrap. Talk of our scrap. Scrap value, the same concept will apply. The same concept will apply whenever we'll be talking of our scrap. Because our scrap for process 1 was 0.2. So scrap for process 1 was 0.2. So talk of scrap. After we are going to dispose that, how many units are we talking about? 200. Process 1, what is the scrap value? If we go to our question, the scrap value for process 1, we had 0.2. So it should be having 0.2 by 0.2. 200 by 0.2, that should give us 40. This is process 1. Scrap for process 3, I'm having 70 by scrap, in this case we had 1, so 70. So that as at the end of the day, my good students, as at the end of the day, we should be talking of the balance to be taken to P&L account. How much will we take to P&L account? How much will we take to our P&L account? I'm only concerned with the values. 500 plus 630. So this should give us 1130. What about the difference? 1130 minus 40 minus 70 should give us how much? 1020. So P&L, I should be having 1020 here. 1020 to make our figure to balance. 1130. Sorry for squeezing it like that. 1130, I'm having what? 1130. That is abnormal gain account. That is abnormal gain account. The same procedure will happen to abnormal loss account. So in this case, you'll see I've credited our P&L and we've debited our abnormal gain account. Of course, this case we can take two. This is units. Units and the value. This is our units. This is value. I'm only interested with that. So, preparing our abnormal loss account. Abnormal loss account. Abnormal loss account. The same procedure will apply. The same procedure will apply. So talk of the same procedure will apply. So ideally we talk of only two components. Let me talk of only two components. So in this case, you are talking of our units, value. Talk of our units, value. So for abnormal loss account, the same procedure. For abnormal loss, we only had abnormal loss in process 2 account, which in this case, I'm going to, in our case, first of all, I'm going to debit our abnormal loss account, and we've credited here. We've credited here. So, meaning that at this point, I'm going to, this was process 2. Talk of process 2. How many units are we talking about? 40. Value was 200. So after that, what was our scrap? Our scrap was 40 units. Scrap for process 2, scrap we had 0.5. So 40 by 0.5, 40 by 0.5, that should give us 20. So the difference should take us to P&L. That is how much difference? The difference in this case should give us how much? This should give us a 200 value, and that should be having 200 minus 20. Ideally, that should give us 180. P&L, 180 P&L. So this is our abnormal loss account. And we've also looked at abnormal gain account. So that is what the examiner wanted you to prepare. So you'll find that the beauty part with process costing is that so long as you've grasped the concept from start, going forward, it should just be a matter of applying what you had studied earlier on. So after you are done with the basics of process cost account, the next element that you are going to look at will be now, suppose we consider the aspect of work in progress. In such an event, how will you work it out? So that's the next concept that you're going to do in our next class. Thank you so much, and let us meet in the next session. Thank you.